The shuttle door opened with a soft hiss, and Ryan stepped out onto the surface of Ithara. The air felt dry, heavy with the smell of metal and stone. Towers carved from mountain rocks stood all around, their sharp edges reaching high into the sky. This was the home of the Ithari people, proud warriors known across the galaxy for their strength, discipline, and cold hearts. He had read all the reports. Before arriving, humans were seen as too soft, too emotional, and too fragile for this kind of world. Yet here he was, sent as a peace envoy to build a better bond between Earth and Ithara. Most humans had refused the assignment. Ryan had volunteered. Waiting for him at the landing platform was Princess Virala, daughter of the High Commander. She stood tall and firm, her silver armor shining under the twin suns. Her face held no smile. Her eyes, bright gold and serious, moved up and down as she looked at the human in front of her. He wasn't wearing armor. He didn't have weapons. Just a simple earth suit and a calm expression. "You are smaller than I expected," she said flatly. Ryan smiled lightly. That's usually the first thing people notice. And softer. He nodded. That too. She stared at him for a long second, then turned. "Follow me." Ryan walked behind her through the city. The Ithari people watched him closely. Some whispered, others sneered. Their stares were heavy, like blades pressing against his back. He didn't respond. He just kept walking, step by step, keeping his head high. They arrived at a grand hall with wide steps and giant stone pillars. Inside, everything was carved from black rock. Guards stood on both sides of the door, but Virala waved them off. "This human is under my protection," she said. Her voice was strong. With no room for doubt. Inside, Ryan was shown his room, small, simple, but clean. Virala stood by the door, arms crossed. "You will attend tomorrow's welcome ritual," she said. "Of course," Ryan replied. "There will be tests. Your kind does not usually pass them." He looked at her, curious. "And if I don't pass, they will laugh at you." He smiled again. "I've been laughed at before. It doesn't hurt much." Virala didn't smile back, but something flickered in her eyes. She left without another word. That night, Ryan stood at the window, watching the sky. The stars here were closer, brighter. He remembered what the other diplomats had said before. He left Earth. Don't show weakness. Don't try to impress them. Just survive. But he hadn't come here to survive. He had come to understand. Maybe even connect. The next morning, the welcome ritual began. It wasn't what he expected. First, they made him walk across hot stone barefoot. Ryan winced, but he didn't stop. Second, he was asked to lift a giant blade. He couldn't lift it, so he just bowed to it. The Ithari around him laughed. Virala said nothing. The third test was a puzzle-and ancient machine with moving parts. The warriors ignored it, thinking it pointless. Ryan sat down and started to study it. It took time, but slowly, he figured it out. With one final turn, the machine opened and a bright sound filled the hall. The laughter stopped. One elder stood and spoke. "No Ithari has opened that in 10 years. Virala looked at Ryan differently now. Her arms were no longer crossed. She was watching closely, silently. After the ceremony, she walked beside him. "You didn't lift the blade," she said. Double quotes. "No, it was too heavy. But you opened the machine." "I like puzzles," he said simply. Virala said nothing for a long while. Then, softly, she asked, "Do your people teach you to be this calm when others mock you?" Ryan looked at her. "We're taught to listen. Sometimes, that's stronger." Then shouting. They stopped walking. Her eyes locked on his. "Your kind is not what I expected." She whispered. He gave a small smile. "Neither are yours." For the first time, her lips almost curved upward. Not a smile, but something. Close out as they walked back to the hall. She didn't walk ahead of him like before. This time, she walked beside him. The next few days were full of whispers. Ryan's name passed quietly from one Ithari mouth to another. Some laughed at him, saying the human was lucky. Others were not sure anymore. They had seen the puzzle test scene, how the strange Earthman had solved what none of them could. They began watching him more carefully. Virala noticed it too. She didn't speak of it, but her step slowed when walking beside him. Her golden eyes stayed on him longer. She didn't call him soft again. On the fourth morning, Ryan was invited to a training ground. It was a large stone field where young Ithari warriors trained with blades and staffs. Varala stood beside him, her arms behind her back. "You don't have to fight," she said, her voice calm. "But they will challenge you? I understand." Ryan replied. A young warrior named Kezer stepped forward. He was tall, strong, and wore dark armor marked with red lines. He held a long wooden staff and smiled with pride. "You're the human?" Kezer asked. Ryan nodded. "Then face me. Show us what you are." Varala took a step forward, but Ryan raised a hand gently. "It's all right." They stepped into the circle. Kezer spun his staff in the air, showing off his skill. Ryan had no weapon. He only stood still. Watching. When Kezer charged, Ryan didn't block or hit back. Instead, he moved. He ducked, stepped sideways, stayed just out of reach. It went on like that for minutes. Kezer grew angry, swinging harder. Ryan stayed calm, always watching, always moving. Finally, Kezer lost balance, slipped, and fell to the ground. The crowd gasped. Ryan walked over and offered his hand to help Kezer up. The warrior looked up in shame, then slowly took the hand. Varala watched all of it without a word. Later, when they walked back through the halls, she spoke. "You did not fight." "No," Ryan said. "I don't like hurting people, but you still won." "I don't think of it as winning," he replied. "I just didn't want him to get hurt." Varala didn't reply right away. She seemed lost in thought. That evening, a small gathering was held. Elders, soldiers, and royal family members filled the chamber. Ryan stood quietly at one corner, observing. Some guests greeted him kindly, others ignored him, but he didn't seem bothered. He just smiled and listened. Viola stood with her father, the High Commander. They both watched Ryan from a distance. "He is unusual," the High Commander said. "He lacks strength, yet he does not fall. I have never met anyone like him." Varala answered honestly. "Do you trust him?" Varala looked across the room. Ryan was speaking to a young soldier, helping him fix a broken belt strap with some kind of small tool from his pocket. "Yes," she said. "More than I thought I would." Suddenly, loud bells rang. A guard rushed in. "Rock slide in the lower mines. Several workers are trapped." Before anyone could speak, Ryan was already moving toward the exit. "I'm trained in rescue operations," he said quickly. "I can help. You?" One elder laughed. "You'll get crushed." Varala stepped forward. "I'll go with him." Everyone stared. The High Commander nodded slowly. "Very well. Take a team. But move fast." Varala and Ryan rushed out, joined by a few guards. The path to the mines was steep and full of falling dust. The entrance had collapsed, and smoke filled the air. Workers cried out from within. Varala turned to Ryan. "You still want to do this?" He nodded. "Let's go." They entered the darkness together. Inside, the tunnel was broken and twisted. Broken beams, sharp rocks, and the sound of groaning stone surrounded them. Ryan kept calm. He used his light and scanned the space carefully. They found 3 workers trapped behind a fallen beam. Varala used her strength to lift part of it, but it wouldn't move. Ryan crawled into the narrow gap and began helping one of the trapped workers breathe easier. He passed a water tube and checked for wounds. A second rockfall came without warning. Varala saw it first. She threw herself over Ryan and shielded him with her body as stones crashed around them. When the dust cleared, they were both scratched and dirty but alive. Ryan opened his eyes slowly. Varala was still leaning over him, breathing hard. "You okay?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, her hand reached out and gripped his tightly. "I thought I'd lost you," she whispered. Darkness surrounded them as Ryan and Varala lay under the fallen stones. The air was thick with dust, making it hard to breathe. Varala's grip on Ryan's hand was tight, her fingers trembling. "Stay with me," she whispered. Her voice barely audible. Ryan blinked slowly, feeling the rough touch of her hand. Despite the pain from cuts and bruises, he smiled softly. "I'm here." Moments passed like ours. The cave was silent except for their shallow breaths. Varala's heart raced. not just from the danger, but because of the closeness she had never allowed herself to feel before. "You're not what I expected," she said quietly. Ryan looked at her, eyes full of gentle light. "What did you expect? Someone weak, fragile, someone who would break. But you hold on, even when everything falls apart." Ryan squeezed her hand. "Sometimes strength isn't holding on to hope." They waited until the dust settled. Varala pushed herself up carefully. She looked around. Rocks and broken beams blocked their way. The tunnel was a maze of danger. "We need to find another exit," Ryan said, his voice steady despite the pain. Varala nodded. She stood and offered him her arm. "Lean on me." He took it gratefully. Together, they moved slowly through the dark tunnels, helping each other over fallen rocks and through tight spaces. After a while, they heard voices. Rescuers were near. Varala called out loudly, her voice echoing through the cave. Soon, a team of miners and guards appeared, lighting their way with torches. "We found them," Varala shouted. Rescuers rushed forward, helping Ryan and Varala to stand fully. The workers they had saved also appeared, coughing but alive. Outside, fresh air filled their lungs. Varala turned to Ryan and smiled a real smile. "You saved lives today, not with weapons, but with courage." Ryan looked at her, eyes shining. "We saved each other." The news of the rescue spread quickly. In the royal halls, whispers changed from doubt to admiration. The human who had faced danger without fear, who had cared for others even in the worst moments, was no longer fragile in their eyes. Varala found herself watching Ryan more than before. She noticed the small things, the way he helped an old woman carry her basket, the patience in his voice when he explained human stories, the kindness in his smile. One evening, they sat alone in a quiet garden beneath glowing moons. The air smelled of flowers and fresh earth. Varala hesitated, then reached out, taking Ryan's hand gently. "Why do I feel this way?" she asked, her voice soft and unsure. Ryan looked surprised but didn't pull away. "Because sometimes what we need is not strength of muscle, but strength of heart." She looked down at their joined hands, then back at him. "I never asked to hold someone's hand. I thought it was a weakness." "It's not," Ryan said simply. "It's trust." Varala's golden eyes met his. "Then I trust you." For the first time, she leaned closer, resting her head lightly against his shoulder. Ryan smiled, feeling warmth he had never known. But not everyone was happy. Some of the council members frowned at the growing bond between the princess and the human. "They are too different," one elder said. "Ithra's strength will be lost." Varala overheard their words but didn't answer. Inside, she knew her feelings were real. She had found something she never thought possible: comfort and courage in another person. The next day, Ryan joined Varala in the training halls. This time, he carried a small wooden box. "What's that?" Varala asked. "A gift," Ryan said. He opened the box to reveal a simple carved pendant, a symbol of peace from Earth. Varala studied it. "Why give this to me?" "Because you showed me a new kind of strength." She smiled, taking the pendant. "Thank you." As they left the training hall, Varala's hand brushed against Ryan's. She didn't pull away. The warlike people of Ithara began to see a different side of their princess, a side touched by hope and softness, not weakness. Ryan and Varala's story was just beginning. The days grew longer on Ithara, but Ryan and Varala found moments of quiet together. The palace gardens became their secret place, where the noise of the court faded and only soft words remained. One evening, as the twin moons rose, Varala sat beside Ryan on a smooth stone bench. She watched the stars flicker above. "Tell me about Earth," she said, her voice gentle. Ryan smiled. "It's a planet full of life and change. People there are different from Ithari, but we have our own strength." "What kind of strength?" Varala asked. "The kind that comes from caring, from standing together when times are hard, from hope." She looked at him, eyes wide. "Our strength is from the blade and the fight. Sometimes," Ryan said softly, "strength is in the hand that holds another, not the sword that strikes." Varala didn't answer. She reached out and took his hand. This time, not because of fear or need, but because she wanted to. Do you ever feel afraid? She asked quietly. Yes, Ryan said without hesitation, but I try not to show it. I'm supposed to be brave, she said, but sometimes I'm scared too. He squeezed her hand. Bravery isn't about not feeling fear. It's about facing it. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world outside did not exist. But peace was fragile. At court, the elders whispered louder now. Some nobles frowned when they saw Varala with Ryan. She is the warrior princess, they said. She should marry a strong Ithari, not a soft human. One day, Varala overheard a council meeting. Voices raised in concern. This human will weaken our people, an elder declared. Ithara and each days passed slowly, but happily for Ben and Varka. The bond between them grew stronger each moment. Ben learned to understand her soft golden eyes, and Varka learned to listen to his quiet voice. They lived together on the human base, which was large and busy. People came and went, some curious, some kind, some unsure. But Varka never lost her calm. She moved through the halls like a gentle giant, always careful not to scare anyone. Ben watched her with pride. She was his mate, his friend, and his protector. Together, they faced the strange new world of humans and machines. One morning, Ben received a message from the research team. They wanted to visit the planet where Varka lived. They hoped to learn more about her people and the bond that connected them. Ben smiled. It's time, he said to Varka. She nodded and smiled back. When they reached the planet, the jungle welcomed them with its green trees and soft sounds. Varka led Ben to her home, a beautiful place filled with glowing flowers and tall trees. Ben felt peace in the air, like the planet was alive with love. The research team watched in awe as Varka showed them her world. She spoke through the translator about her people, their customs, and the sacred bond that joined mates. Ben felt grateful. Their story was no longer just about fixing a pipe. It was about friendship, love, and trust across worlds. At night, Ben and Varka sat by a glowing pool. Varka rested her head on Ben's shoulder, and he held her hand gently. Thank you, Ben whispered. Varka smiled softly. Thank you. Their bond was strong, deeper than words could say. It was a promise of life, care, and forever. Ben knew that no matter where they went, or what challenges they faced, they would face them together. As stars twinkled above, Ben closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the giant alien girl beside him. He thought, fixing a pipe was just the start. This is my life now, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Warriors, not diplomats. Our alliance depends on strength. Another added, the princess must choose wisely. Varala's heart clenched. She wanted to speak, to defend Ryan. But she knew the court was not ready to hear. Instead, she sought Ryan in the gardens. He was waiting, reading a small book. When she approached, he closed it and smiled. They don't like us, she said quietly. Ryan nodded. Sometimes change is hard. Do you think they will try to stop us? Maybe. But we can show them another way. Varala looked down at their joined hands. I don't want to be alone anymore. You won't be, Ryan promised. Days later, Varala was called to a private meeting with the High Commander, her father. He looked stern, but tired. Daughter, he began. The council is worried. They say your bond with the human may bring weakness to Ithara. Varala met his gaze steadily. I have never felt weaker. Strength comes from unity, not just battle, Ryan said softly. Stepping forward, the commander studied him. You are brave to speak, Ryan nodded. I only want to protect Varala and Ithara. The commander sighed. Time will tell if your words are true. After the meeting, Varala and Ryan walked through the palace halls, hands linked. Do you regret coming here? She asked. Never, Ryan said. Because I found you. She stopped and looked at him, eyes shining. Then we will face whatever comes together. As days passed, Varala trained harder. But her heart had changed. She fought not just for herself, but for the bond growing between her and Ryan. One evening, she invited Ryan to the training grounds. She handed him a small wooden practice sword. Try this, she said. He laughed softly. I'm no warrior. Then learn from me, she challenged. They sparred gently, not to win, but to understand. Varala taught Ryan how to hold the sword, how to move. He listened carefully, falling into step with her. When they stopped, Varala smiled. You're stronger than you think. Ryan looked at her, heart full. So are you? They walked back, hands still joined, ready to face a future no one expected. The days after Varala's training lesson with Ryan were different. Their friendship was no longer a secret. The people of Ithara saw the princess walking beside the human diplomat. Hand in hand, some whispered in surprise, others in anger. At the marketplace, a group of young warriors stopped Varala as she passed. One of them, a tall youth named Kalen, stepped forward. Princess, Kalen said with a hard voice, why do you waste your time with a human? Our people need strong leaders, not soft strangers. Varala held her head high. Ryan has shown me strength beyond muscle. Kalen laughed. You are blinded. She looked at him calmly. I see more clearly than ever. Kalen clenched his fists, but said no more. His friends pulled him away, casting cold looks behind them. Words spread quickly. Many Ithari were confused. Some admired Varala's courage. Others worried she was turning away from their traditions. At the palace, Varala and Ryan attended a council meeting. The High Commander spoke first. Ithara faces threats beyond our borders. We need unity and strength. He looked at Varala and Ryan. Our future depends on cooperation. An elder stood. But is this human truly our ally? Can he protect us in battle? Ryan answered steadily. I may not be a warrior like Varala, but I am ready to stand with her in Ithara. The room was silent. After the meeting, Varala found Ryan in the palace gardens. They questioned us. She said, let them. Ryan replied, we have each other. Varala smiled, grateful. But challenges came from outside. Reports arrived of raiders attacking nearby villages. Ithara's warriors prepared for war. Varala was called to lead a defense force. Before leaving, she turned to Ryan. Stay safe. He took her hands. You too. The battle was fierce. Varala led her warriors with skill and bravery. Ryan helped coordinate aid for the injured and refugees. During the fight, Varala saw Ryan shielding a child from falling debris. His body took the blow, but he didn't complain. She rushed to him, worry in her eyes. Why did you do that? She asked. Because every life matters. He said softly. Via a single quotes as heart ached with new respect. After the battle, the people hailed Varala as a hero. But she knew her true strength came from the human by her side. One evening, as peace returned, Varala and Ryan walked through the quiet city streets. Children ran past, laughing. Elders smiled at them. Even some warriors nodded in respect. Varala stopped and looked at Ryan. Do you feel accepted now? He shook his head. Not yet, but I feel hope. She squeezed his hand. Then we keep going. As they reached the palace gates, Varala turned to him. Together, we can change Ithara. Ryan smiled. And maybe change ourselves too. Their hands stayed joined as they stepped into the future. The palace halls buzzed with tension. The council was divided more than ever. Some praised Varala's courage and the new hope she brought. Others whispered warnings of danger and betrayal. The High Commander called Varala to his private chamber. His face was stern but tired. Daughter, he said slowly, the council fears your bond with the human will weaken Ithara. Varala met his eyes. Steady and strong. Father, my bond with Ryan has made me stronger. They say humans are fragile, not fit for our world. They do not know him, Varala replied. He has shown bravery in ways others cannot see. Just then, Ryan entered the room. He bowed respectfully. Double quotes, sir. He said, I am ready to do what it takes to protect Ithara. The High Commander studied him carefully. We face threats soon, he said. Your loyalty will be tested. Ryan nodded. I am not afraid. Days later, a new crisis arrived. Scouts reported a fleet of enemy ships heading toward Ithara's main cities. Panic spread through the palace. Via and Ryan stood together in the command room, watching the star maps. This is more than a raid. Varala said, it is an invasion. Ryan looked at her. We must prepare. Ithara's warriors readied their weapons. Varala led the front line, while Ryan organized aid and communications. during the first attack. Varala fought fiercely, her sword cut through enemy armor. But when she saw Ryan helping injured civilians behind the lines, her heart swelled with pride. After the battle, Varala found Ryan wounded. A shard had cut his arm. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, worry in her voice. "I wanted to stay strong," Ryan said with a small smile. "You don't have to be strong alone." She took his hand gently, holding it with care. "We are stronger together." The days of fighting were hard. The enemy pushed closer. The council grew restless. Some urging Varala to end her bond with Ryan to focus on war. One night, Varala stood before the council, her voice clear and bold. "I will not abandon Ryan. His strength is part of mine. Together, we protect Ithara." The room was silent. Some nodded slowly. Others frowned. The High Commander finally spoke. "You have my respect, daughter, but be careful." Varala nodded. "I will." After the meeting, Ryan joined her in the gardens. "You were brave today." "Not as brave as you," Varala said. They stood quietly, hands joined under the stars. Ryan looked at her. "No matter what comes, I am with you." Varala smiled. "And I with you." Their bond was now stronger than ever, a symbol of hope. For many, the war had ended. The skies over Ithara were clear again. The enemy ships had retreated, defeated by the strength and unity of the Ithari people and by the courage of Varala and Ryan. Now, the palace was quiet. The people waited, watching the princess closely. Many still doubted the human. Some admired the princess's choice, but all knew this moment would change Ithara forever. Varala stood before the great hall, her silver armor shining in the morning sun. Beside her, Ryan wore a simple suit, but his eyes held pride and determination. The High Commander stepped forward and spoke to the gathered crowd. "Ithara has faced great danger. We have seen strength in many forms. Today, we honor a new path, one of unity and hope." He turned to Varala. "Daughter, will you speak?" Varala stepped forward, voice strong and clear. "People of Ithara, for many years, we believed strength meant fighting alone, holding power tightly. But I have learned that strength is also in trust, in kindness, and in standing together." She looked at Ryan and took his hand in hers. "I choose the one who showed me a new kind of strength, the strength to hold a hand, to care, and to protect not just with weapons, but with heart." The crowd was silent. Then, slowly, applause began. Some Ithari warriors stood and nodded. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Ryan smiled, squeezing Varala's hand gently. The High Commander smiled too. "Let this be the start of a new legacy." After the ceremony, Varala and Ryan walked through the palace gardens. The people came forward to greet them. Children reached out to touch Ryan's hand. Elders smiled, and warriors bowed with respect. Varala turned to Ryan. "Do you think they will accept us now?" He looked around, warmth in his eyes. "They already have." She laughed softly. "You make even this old palace feel new. Because with you, everything is new." They found a quiet spot beneath the glowing moons. Varala rested her head on Ryan's shoulder. "Thank you," she whispered, "for teaching me what real strength is." He kissed her forehead gently. "Thank you for trusting me." The stars shone above, bright and full of promise. Together, they dreamed of a future where Ithara and Earth walked side by side, hand in hand. Their story was no longer about a fragile human or a proud warrior princess. It was about courage, love, and the power of holding on to each other no matter what. And so, under the watchful eyes of the galaxy, Varala and Ryan began their new life, united not just by duty, but by a bond stronger than any blade.